Hey there, neighbor. Springtime is such a weird time for me, and it gives me really mixed feelings. And based off of conversations I've had with a lot of you over the last couple weeks, I'm not the only one that feels like this. I want you to do me a favor. Really think about this question that I'm about to ask. What projects do you have going on right now? I'm talking around the house, around the yard, in the garden, the chicken coop, wherever it might be. What projects do you have right now? During the winter months, we're stuck inside. It's snowy, it's cold, it's miserable to be outside, so what do? We plan. If you're anything like me, you come up with a lot of plans during the winter. You think about your garden, your chickens, your yard, your garage, everything that you can't do in the winter, you start thinking about. You come up with all these grandiose plans of what you're gonna do. And then as soon as the sun comes out, as soon as it starts to warm up a little bit, you realize, I don't think I can do all that. The weight of all these projects just gets heavier and heavier, and before you realize it, you're just drowning in half-finished projects. You're definitely not alone in this. This year I made so many plans, I can't even keep track of it. I'm doing a cargo trailer conversion so I can go camping. I need to redo my yard because the dogs have messed it up so bad. We have our baby chicks that we're taking care of this year. I have a complete garden rebuild that I need to do. I have a kitchen remodel that is like 4/5 of the way done, almost there, but not quite. And right now, Utah is in a record-shattering winter, and I know it's spring, but here in Utah, it's still winter. We have a record-shattering winter with snowpack that just doesn't stop. Every day it's snowing here. And just a second ago, my friend came over because he was talking to the neighbor and his basement's flooding. Hey there, neighbor.
Hey there, neighbor. It's real wet out here.
I know. It's a mess.
He's flooding?
What do you mean? Like in his house? His crawl space flooding?
I want to check your crawl space.
And while I'm filming this, I should be in there looking at my basement because if his is flooding, mine probably is too. But I'm gonna film this first. And all this snow and all this rain and all this water is making it really difficult to do much of anything out here. It's kind of just a lake. So for me, how do I manage all these projects and all these big plans that I had? How do I figure out what to do first and how to actually get something complete without just getting it halfway done and moving on? The first thing you need to ask yourself is, what are the most important things in your life? And I want you to go down in the comments right now, and I want you to tell me the top 2 things. What are the 2 most important things in your life? For me, I know exactly what those things are, and that is my family. So spending time with my family, not just my family is important. No, I'm saying my family and spending family time with my wife and with my kids, that is the number 1 most important thing to me. Everything else in my life comes second to my family time. The number 2 thing for me is my health. Over the last few months, I've lost a life-changing amount of weight, and I feel better than I have in, I don't even know how long. And the whole reason I started losing this weight is so I can do things with my family, so I can go hiking, so I can do camping and just spend time with my family. So those 2 things come hand in hand. So how do I figure out what projects to do based on what's important to me? So for me, family time is most important. And for me, one of the biggest things I enjoy doing with my family is going camping. And one of the projects I had this year was to convert this cargo trailer into a camping trailer. So to me, this was number 1 on the list. But let me go a little bit deeper than that. As you can see, there's not a lot in here. It's just kind of a normal cargo trailer looking at it from the outside, right? But I've spent the last 3 weeks of my life desperately trying to get this done to this point. And I had plans of putting bunk beds in here and getting cabinets and all sorts of crazy stuff. But what I ended up doing is I got this to a point that we can go camping. I got the walls insulated, I got some electricity run, and I did everything that needs to be done to where we can take this to the mountains now. I cut this project a little bit shorter than I wanted because other things are important, and I was able to get this project to a point that is workable. I know that some of the projects are grandiose, and some of these projects are really big projects that you have these perfect visions for the future, like I have with this trailer. But that can't always be done just in 1 year or 1 spring. I also need to be able to focus on the number 2 thing that was important to me, and that's gonna be my health. And with my health is gardening. And I need to get my garden situated and where it needs to be. At the end of the gardening season last year, my wife and I, we had a baby, and it was amazing. And it took up so much more time than I expected it to. And because of that, my garden is still sitting pretty much how I left it. She's looking at me right now. So now my garden is just a nasty mess. I've still got tomato plants in the ground over here. The dogs have torn it up, the pigs tore it up. This whole garden is just a giant disaster. And this year I want to focus a lot more on growing food that we're really going to use and really utilize and store food for my family. And here's a confession that a lot of people don't know because I garden so much, but I don't I never really liked vegetables. And over the last few months, eating better and just eating more whole foods, I actually really enjoy vegetables now, and I'm more excited than ever to grow them in the garden. And so I bumped up the priority of my garden project, which I'm extending the garden out by 6 feet, and I bought 12 raised beds to put in my garden. I literally spent every dollar I had and then some on some raised beds. And there'll be a video about those coming up. And for me, this is an investment. These raised beds are gonna last 20 years, and I'm not gonna have to rebuild them. They're gonna sit here and they're gonna grow food for me year after year. So it was a pretty easy decision for me to prioritize this garden. And the garden actually works well with my family time as well, because during the summer, the kids love being out in the garden. They absolutely love growing things and seeing me plant a seed and turn it into food. And speaking of planting seeds, that's another project. That's another thing that takes up time, is planting your seeds, because we already have half of our garden starts in our house, and that took time. It takes time to take care of those and to plant those and to plan those. And a garden, a real garden, like a real good thought out planned garden, takes weeks and weeks of planning and working and getting everything right. So to me, it's a no-brainer. Working on the garden, it's definitely a priority. It might be kind of hard to see behind me here, but this fence has some privacy slats and this fence does not. It might not really look like a whole lot of work, but putting these privacy slats up takes a really long time. It's an easy job, but it's a time-consuming job. And when I talk about prioritization and figuring out what's important to you and basing your projects off of that and what you can actually complete off of that, finishing my privacy slats just didn't make the cut. I have never been more just disgusted and uncomfortable with my yard. I hate being out here, but the time spent going camping with my family and the time spent in the garden and the food I'm getting from the garden and the investment I'm making there, those are both more important than getting the yard done. I can focus on the yard later this summer. It's not time restrictive. Working on the garden, I have a deadline that needs to be done. Getting the trailer done, I have a deadline that needs to be done because we go camping before the snow even melts. In the garden, I need to have that done and everything planted on time this year. So that is time restrictive. The yard, I can focus on that later. So let me ask you this question. What is your garden? What is your trailer? What are the things that are important to you to get done? No, really, I want you to go down in the comments and tell me, what are the important things to you? Out of the 20 things that you would like to get done, what are the 4 or 5 that really matter, that really just speak to your soul and you need to get done? Out of those 4 or 5, what are time sensitive? Do you have a garden that you need to get done? Do you have chicks in a brooder that you need to build a chicken coop for? What do you have that is time sensitive and that really does matter and that you can focus on right now? And now let me ask you another question, and I want you to really think about it, and once again, put it in the comments. What can you let go? What can you say no to? What can you say, you know, I don't have time for that this year? Because for me, it was a lot. It was getting the trailer where I wanted it to be. I wanted to put bunk beds in it for the kids. I wanted to put a bed in for my wife and I. I wanted to put cabinets in there. I wanted to do all those things, but I don't need to. The priority for me is family time. And the way the trailer sits right now, I can spend that family time. I didn't get the slats done. That's fine, I'm not worried about it. I didn't get the yard done. I can do that later. What are the things that you can say no to? What are the things that you can let go of? 2 completed projects is going to be so much better than 15 partially completed projects. Am I right? We can't build the lives that we want in a single spring. It's going to take time. And I know what it feels like to jump in head first with all these crazy goals and all these crazy expectations that you put on yourself, just to get upset with yourself when they're not getting done when you want them to be done. And it's okay to let it go. It's okay to prioritize and decide, hey, I'm not doing that right now. I'm not doing it this month. Maybe I'll check back on that in a month or 2 when I'm done with these other things. I know that this isn't a typical video, but I feel like it's important to talk about because I can't be the only one that is just this stressed out every single spring. So take a deep breath, prioritize your important things, and work on those. And going through this whole process, I realized something else, and I didn't realize how important YouTube was to me in making these videos. And it's definitely not something that I'm willing to give up. And there's just so much work that goes into it between the filming and the planning, editing, SEO, thumbnail, all these different things. And it's a lot of work. But that's not something I'm willing to give up because I enjoy having these conversations with you. And I enjoy building a community of people that have the same interests as I do. And it's something that just brings me joy. I love it. And what's funny is my wife, the cougar, she's really supportive of me doing YouTube videos, and we make sure we schedule out time for me to film and do all that stuff. And the other day she went through and started watching some of my recent videos, and I explained to her that the last couple of videos when I said, hey, like this video to feed my cougar, I explained to her that those videos have a higher like to view ratio than my other videos do. So if you do me a favor, go down and like this video. It's gonna help it spread to more people, and I've got my cougar to feed. This was a video that wasn't just like how to or fact-based or how you do this or how you do that. It was something that is more of an emotional side or even a mental health side, or just how to do this self-sufficiency thing where you have to do a lot of different projects to create a life for yourself. And it's a lot, and I had fun. So if you did like it, let me know in the comments. And then after that, go ahead and watch this video right here. YouTube thinks you're gonna like this video, and I do too. So watch that, and I'll see you there.